Hey everyone, Matt here from Work Story, putting together another one of our weekly resource videos, stuff we learn from dealing with our clients, different businesses, different industries, different cultures, just things we think might be helpful to a larger audience of people. So today, put together a quick presentation on establishing a culture of feedback, or ways in which teams can encourage more conversation to take place around performance and how well people are doing. A lot of our teams do a great job of encouraging feedback, making sure it's part of the ongoing workflow and conversation. Others are definitely looking for ways to promote that. A lot of times we have teams coming to us and are like, hey, you have this great tool and we definitely want feedback, but we need to make sure that our team knows what that means and how to do that. So I figured this was step one in helping to get that going. So why is more feedback better? Tons of different reasons, centered around performance, but also centered around engagement. Typically, if you have more feedback happening, you're generally working together and are aligned, either manager and team member or peers. You're generally aligned on everyone's sort of working together in the same direction. And with the ultimate goal of, hey, we all want to improve, we all want to do better with our work, we all want the organization to succeed. So feedback is a main mechanism by which that can happen. So as you can see here, some benefits of feedback: obviously encouraging better performance on an individual level. You're doing that through having conversations, written or oral, talking about how well people are doing, reflecting on what's going on, engaging better with each team member on the actual content of the work that they're working on. Are they being motivated? Are they not? How do they feel within their position? Team dynamics obviously improved as well as a result of that additional communication taking place. And again, as I mentioned on the front end, alignment. Everyone sort of has the same focus. So why not encourage that as much as possible in all levels of the different work that we're trying to do. So the key elements of a really good feedback culture, as we've identified them and looking at these different specific teams that we feel are really good standouts, are: one, there's certainly safety expressed in that we sort of want your feedback, whether it's good or bad or constructive or not. It's something that we're expecting of you. And we want that to happen. And so they put rules or establish values in place to make sure everyone feels like they can speak up without any fear. Making it regular and consistent, setting up specific opportunities for people to give feedback, not just saying, hey, yeah, occasionally I'll give some feedback here and there in sort of ad hoc format, specifically asking for feedback regularly. And then keeping it balanced. So too much sort of rosy feedback is not going to help anyone. Saying, hey, great job, or or exceeding expectations all the time, that doesn't generally do anything to help. It sort of makes you feel better, but it doesn't actually help us move forward with what can this person or what can we be doing better? Because you can always improve regardless of what areas you're talking about or what type of work you're doing. So making sure that you're sharing both, you're celebrating when they're doing well, but also making sure to focus on opportunities for improvement as well. So how to go about actually doing it yourself if you want to get going. Say you don't have anything. How do we try to instill more feedback within our team? One, the first thing I always tell managers, new team members, HR people is lead by example. Set the expectation for, I want feedback from you. Please give me feedback. I want it all the time. Give me feedback so that I know what I can do to improve. Asking them for it, and then you also giving it to them, helps to set the example for them in the greater context of the organization. So start with yourself, both giving and receiving, and that'll help it to expand. Second, training and educating. This is a big one when we're working with new teams. What does feedback, good feedback, actually look like? Quality feedback. There are two main elements, I would say, but if you have to really sort of simplify it down, one is keeping it focused on like behaviors, the way you're affecting me, or what you're doing is impacting me, and rather than saying you're doing this thing. Another really good shortcut is think of like the SMART goals acronym, keeping it specific, measurable, actionable, those sorts of things help to keep it really focused and take some of the like personal, emotional feeling away when you're sharing it. As I mentioned beforehand, creating structured opportunities, so making it, having regular one-on-one conversations, be them formal or informal. Documenting when that happens. It's not just, hey, great job on this thing. It's no, let's sit down and let's reflect and let's talk about it and let's document that so that we can use that feedback in our next conversation, or I can use that feedback in my next performance review, as an example of sort of how work story comes in. Recognize and reinforce feedback behaviors. This is simply sort of Pavlovian, so to speak. If you see someone's doing it, call it out. Thanks so much for giving me feedback. Or publicly, hey, just got some amazing, Slack or Teams out to your group. Hey, just got some awesome feedback from Joe. Thanks so much for that. Make it known and share with that person that, hey, they did a great job and you're appreciating receiving that feedback. Also, encouraging peer-to-peer. Some teams are sort of reticent when it comes to this more like 360 thought process, but basically the more you can enable it to happen within your own engagement, whether you're a manager and a team member, the more you can have that sort of expand elsewhere within the organization, the more quickly that this cultural shift is going to happen. People will feel more comfortable with one another. People will share feedback. Performance will improve drastically, much more quickly, because it's not just a single person and a single opportunity for feedback. They're getting it all the time throughout their work week from different people with different perspectives, which arguably is more powerful than if it was just a manager-team member relationship. Okay, main challenges. Number one, obviously, fear of having a negative reaction when sharing feedback, which makes sense, but may not even be the case. We may just be worried about this because we think it's what's going to happen. But some ways to approach it are be mindful. This is meant to be sort of us working together positively. Hey, I'm going to give you some feedback because I think you could do so much better. Or, hey, I'm going to give you feedback because we feel like this one specific area just needs a little bit of work. And if we can do that, like this is going to a whole new level. Or, hey, I'm giving you some feedback because I really think that you're an A+ player. And I think that just making this one specific change can sort of remedy this. Stuff like that. Anyway, keep it positive. We're working together. This is not meant to be negative or a punishment or anything like that. Again, I mentioned way earlier, focusing on behaviors. You're doing this thing, or sorry, not you, I focused. So because you were late, it impacted me and I had to do X, Y, Z. So don't talk about like the quality, more so the behavior of what it actually was, the action that took place that led to that outcome. And then setting a tone of respect. Obviously, hey, we're team members, or I'm looking up to you, or you're looking up to me. This is coming in a working relationship. So we both need to sort of talk about this so that we can move forward effectively together. And then fatigue, something that comes up from time to time. Hey, giving feedback over and over and over again, does it sort of lose its feelings? So ways to approach that are, when you're sharing feedback, just be super specific. Hey, this one specific thing, let's talk about it. Let's make sure that it's actionable. Sort of going back to the SMART acronym. Hey, if I'm only going to share this feedback if I know this person can actually do something to change. I'm not going to share feedback if it's something that's sort of more nebulous, that's just not going to do anything other than be sort of a point of conversation. We need it to be, hey, I'm sharing this to adjust or celebrate a behavior that person has. And then lastly, using different forms. It doesn't always have to be like a formal sit-down conversation. It can just be, hey, I'm going to like Slack something quickly. Or I'll send a quick message. Or other ways of vocally or non-vocally doing it, all sort of contribute to this idea of feedback and giving information exchange to one another based on what we're doing. So anyway, that's the relatively quick run through. How do you start doing this? Just get started. 1 or 2 points that you liked out of this, get going, whether that's setting the expectation, whether that's starting to establish casual one-on-ones, whatever it is, it'll start to get the ball rolling and you can start sort of moving the team from there. But anyway, hope this was helpful. We'll continue to come out with other videos, other resources based on stuff we get from our clientele. And looking forward to hearing how everyone's implementing their feedback cultures moving forward. Thanks so much, guys.